It was the perfect evening to go on a fishing trip, and I couldn't have been happier to be out here with my best mate, Alex. We had been counting down the days to do this, eager to escape everyday life and immerse ourselves with our fave activity. As we sailed out onto the lake in our small fishing boat, the worries of the world faded away, replaced by the simple joy of being surrounded by water, sky, and the promise of a good catch. With our lines cast and the gentle breeze, Alex and I settled into a comfortable rhythm, exchanging stories and jokes as we waited for the fish to bite. But as the afternoon wore on, a subtle shift began to take place. Dark clouds started to gather on the horizon, looming ominously over the tranquil scene below. At first we paid them little heed, too engrossed in our banter and the thrill of catching some fish to notice the warning signs in the sky above. As the clouds grew thicker, the mood on the boat shifted, but still, we remained determined to make the most of our time on the water, stubbornly clinging to the hope that the storm would pass us by without incident. Something had to go wrong. With a suddenness that took us by surprise, a fierce gust swept across the lake, rocking our boat violently from side to side. I watched in horror as Alex, caught off guard by the sudden turbulence, lost his footing and tumbled over the edge, disappearing into the depths. Without a second thought, I lunged forward, reaching out desperately for Alex's outstretched hand. But my fingers closed around nothing but air as he slipped further and further away from me, swallowed up by the churning waters. Alone on the boat, with the storm raging around me and my friend's life hanging in the balance, I knew that I had to act fast if I wanted to save him from the icy grip of the lake. As I plunge into the water after Alex, the world around me seems to blur into a chaos of bubbles and darkness, the cold squeezing the air from my lungs and sending my heart racing. I was consumed by the desperate need to reach him, to pull him back onto the boat. As Alex slips further away, swallowed by the depths below, each second feeling like an eternity, as I struggle against the relentless pull of the water. The storm rages on above, its fury mirrored by the tumultuous waves that crash against my body with relentless force. I fight against the current, my muscles burning with exertion, my lungs screaming for air, the weight of the situation threatening to crush me beneath its suffocating weight. And then, against all odds, my fingers close around Alex's wrist, his hand slipping from my grasp. With a surge of adrenaline, I pull him towards me, fighting against the water's resistance with every ounce of strength I possess. Together we break through the surface, gasping for air as the storm rages on around us. We cling to each other, battered but alive. Clutching onto the remnants of our battered boat, we weather the storm's fury as it gradually subsides. We navigate the calm waters back to shore. Pierre has been my buddy forever, and we'd go these little fishing trips every couple weeks. As we paddled our small boat back to shore, it felt like we were leaving our little world of freedom. The air smelled fresh, a welcome change from city life. It was the perfect day for exploring and forgetting about boring stuff like school and chores. Pierre kept me entertained with stories of the girl he was seeing. I, on the other hand, haven't even been on a date with anyone. But little did we know, things were about to get way more interesting, and not in a good way. We were hooking up our boat back on the truck when suddenly we heard a noise from the bushes, and I turned to see what it was. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it, a huge bear coming right at us. It felt like something out of a scary movie, except this was real life. I was about to bolt away when he whispered, "Stay calm, we'll figure this out." The bear kept getting closer, and I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest. I grabbed the oars, ready to fight if I had to, but deep down, I knew we were in big trouble, as the realization of the danger we were in. Pierre's voice, though steady, betrayed the urgency of the situation as he whispered his suggestion to lie still. With every instinct screaming for action, we forced ourselves to obey, suppressing the urge to flee and praying that Pierre's strategy would work. Lying prone in the boat, every nerve on edge, we strained our ears for the slightest sound, each rustle of leaves or snap of twigs sending us in panic. The tension in the air was palpable, a silent testament to the perilous game of cat and mouse unfolding between us and the bear. The bear's heavy footsteps reverberated through the forest, each one a chilling reminder of our vulnerability. We held our breath as the bear approached, its presence looming larger with each passing moment. The boat creaked under our weight, threatening to betray our hiding spot at any second. And then, as if sensing our fear, the bear paused. For agonizing seconds it seemed to survey the scene before it, its senses finely attuned to the slightest movement or sound. With bated breath, we waited, willing ourselves to remain perfectly still, even as every fiber of our being screamed to flee. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the tension in the air began to dissipate. The bear, perhaps satisfied that we posed no threat, resumed its lumbering journey through the forest, its massive form disappearing into forest. Relief washed over us as we realized we had escaped the encounter unscathed. Pierre's quick thinking had saved us from a potentially deadly confrontation, and for that I was profoundly grateful. I launched my kayak, the familiar routine of preparing for a day of fishing, easing any lingering traces of sleep from my mind. Kayak fishing was a passion of mine, a hobby I had pursued countless times before, and each excursion filled me with a sense of anticipation. With practiced hands, I secured my fishing gear and settled into the familiar contours of my kayak, the gentle rocking motion soothing as I paddled out into the open waters. The rhythmic swish of the paddle was a comforting melody, a reminder of the countless hours I had spent navigating these same waters in search of the perfect catch. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, a sense of unease began to gnaw at my gut. It started as a faint resistance in the paddle, a subtle hint of trouble that I brushed aside in my eagerness to keep fishing. But as I continued to paddle, the resistance grew stronger, until finally, with a sharp crack, the paddle broke free from its handle, leaving me stranded in the middle of the open sea. The current, unforgiving, carried me farther from the shore. With no means of propulsion, I was at the mercy of the elements. I frantically searched for a solution, my hands grasping at the broken paddle in vain. But with each passing second, the current tightened its grip, pulling me deeper. As the darkness of night descended, a glimmer of hope pierced through the despair that had engulfed me. In the distance, a faint glow appeared on the horizon, a beacon guiding me home. Summoning every ounce of strength and determination I still had, I surrendered to the rhythm of the ocean, allowing the current to carry me towards the distant shore. With each passing moment, the glow grew brighter, drawing me closer and closer to safety. At long last, after what felt like an eternity adrift at sea, I felt the familiar sensation of solid ground beneath my feet. With trembling hands and weary limbs, I dragged myself onto the shore, the soft sand a welcome embrace after hours spent battling the elements. Exhausted but triumphant, I collapsed onto the sand, my heart overflowing with gratitude. That was the last time I ever got on a kayak.